The hosts feel it would be a little unkind to present this podcast without just a word of friendly warning. We are about to unfold the story of Frankenstein, a man of science who sought to create a man after his own image without reckoning upon God. It is one of the strangest tales ever told. It deals with the two great mysteries of creation, life and death. I think it will thrill you. It may shock you. It might even horrify you. So if any of you feel that you do not care to subject your nerves to such a strain, now's your chance to. Well, we've warned you. Hello and welcome to the Frankencast. I'm the mad scientist Anthony Bowman. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm joined as always by
the half mummy, half Frankenstein, Mummenstein, or Frankeny, if you will, Eric Velazquez. My pronouns are also he, him. All right. That's it.
So, this week we are talking about the third Hammer Frankenstein film, The Evil of Frankenstein.
And once again, before we get totally into it, remember to do the subscription thing. If you do enjoy the podcast or whatever you're listening to, let us know. If you don't, also let us know. Let us know what we could do better.
Yeah, we're definitely open to discussion, suggestions. We want this to be as fun for everyone else as it is for us.
Definitely. So as you were saying, we're watching something evil.
Yeah. And so this is the Universal Hammer co-production. So Universal finally kind of got on board with what Hammer was doing. And, on paper, that sounds like super exciting. We love all those Universal movies. We just watched them. These Hammer ones so far have been great.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to mix that chocolate and peanut butter together and it's going to just be magical. But it does kind of feel like Universal sort of almost kind of neutered Hammer in a way. They sort of I feel like Hammer couldn't do what they wanted to do, and it sort of ended up it's not a bad movie, but I feel like it was more of a hindrance than it was a help to get Universal in the mix.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely feels like a Universal Frankenstein movie.
Yeah,
better and worse.
Yeah, I mean, for one, we've lost the continuity. The last two movies fit together. The second movie started moments after the first movie ended, and now we're kind of in this strange place. We don't really, there's no explanation for why they are where they are or what's going on there. And then we have a big flashback that is completely unrelated to anything we've seen.
Yeah, completely throws everything out the window.
Yeah, it just completely trashes the first movie. Has a whole different plot. And yeah, the Universal movies kind of got bad about giving up on continuity as it went too, so that felt definitely familiar. And it just felt just so that we can get the flat top head Frankenstein, it didn't feel like a good trade.
Ooh, I know. It was I can tell that they put money behind this, especially from the beginning and most of the way through. However, there is a point where the money ran out, and it is a clear, definitive moment.
Yeah. So yeah, we start out and it immediately it's kind of disorienting. We're in this little cabin in the woods. That we've had all these kind of really grand Gothic homes and stuff in the previous Hammer movies, and this does not fit at all. And we have
small, kind of quiet.
Yeah, it's a little cottage kind of thing, but it doesn't really look old fashioned. It felt strange. And so then we get we've got a couple walking away from the cabin. They're crying. And you see this kind of suspicious guy watching from around a tree as they leave.
And then we get a shot of a person or a gentleman laying on a table or a slab almost with a crucifix in hand. Obviously, he is recently deceased. So we know what that means.
Yeah. And, sure enough, the suspicious guy, as soon as the couple's out of sight, he, goes and, attempts to
drag the corpse out the window, which seemed like a strange choice.
It was a choice for sure. I mean, I don't know that I would just reach in through a window, grab a body, and yank it out that way, but...
I mean, I guess there was no breaking and entering. He did not. Yeah. He didn't break nor enter. He just yanked it right out the window. But in the process, he scares a little girl who is like hiding in a closet, and so she takes off out of the house.
That seems like a bad I understand this is a little girl. She's not making the most sound decisions at this point, but it still seems like a bad idea running outside where the guy who stole presumably your dad's body is going to be.
Yeah, but also, why the couple that left? Why did they just leave a little girl with a dead body?
I don't know. You got to get that trauma in early, you know. It builds character. Apparently, that's what people told me.
I guess so. Mm-hmm. So then, of course, we see, there's like this one little shot where you see. Victor Frankenstein, our Peter Cushing, is back, and he's just like watching the like suspicious guy. He's got the corpse thrown over his shoulder, and he's going through the woods. And I guess it's kind of strange. You just have this like 1 second little thing where it's like, okay, Victor's like watching him, and then it immediately cuts to Victor at his lab, and the guy brings the body there. So it's almost like Victor like watched him and then like ran away really fast.
He just ran right up behind him, walks in and is like, oh no, I'm Dr. Frankenstein, not my friend Hans here.
Like answers the door all out of breath. Yeah. But so yeah, then like, he the guy's like, I got a corpse for you, and he's like, yeah, I know, I saw you, like, let's get inside, like let's make this a little bit, low key. We're like,
yeah, right.
Just lugging a dead body over your shoulder just through the town.
Oh, by the way, a little bit earlier, the Baron Frankenstein just jump scared the little girl. That was her importance for the most part.
Yeah, so she kind of just disappears after this. We don't really see much.
We see her one more time with the priest, who's actually coming up next. Who could have done this evil thing? He says to the little girl.
Yeah, and she, because she saw Frankenstein, she's like, yeah, I saw him. I can show you.
Can we talk about the priest? This guy is metal. Like, if I believe he would be in the Spanish Inquisition. Like, everything he does comes off as, almost a crusader type priest, almost out of D&D. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, he's not like the kindly father kind of priest.
No, he will beat you with a cane and tell you it's for your own good.
Yeah. Oh, so while we're with the man that drops off the corpse, he's kind of nosy. He kind of wants to see what's up, and Victor's like, get out of here, right. And Hans, pays him to send him off. And this lab's kind of strange. It's it's really small and cramped. Like it's not the sort of grand labs that we've been seeing.
Yeah, and everything seems kind of rusted, right? Or at least that's what it looked like to me.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense. So we saw that cabin. We never really see the exterior of Victor's place, but I guess they're just out somewhere rural, kind of hiding out. The science gear, we've lost our spinning science wheel.
Yeah,
and it's kind of
that wheel.
Oh yeah, I hope we get a recurrence.
Return of the wheel.
Yes, but for now it's basically just some colored liquid bubbling. That's about all the sciencey stuff we've got here. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so Victor does end up once they send the guy on his way, Victor cuts the heart out of the corpse and drops it into one of his fish tanks, because he's always got to have some fish tanks.
Yeah, that's the secret to returning the dead to life. The fish tank.
Yeah. And then we do get to see a little bit of the outside, so we see that he's in some sort of mill, it's by a source of water. There's a spinning, a corn mill kind of thing outside, and that's what's controlling the electricity.
Yeah.
I guess saying cornmeal really just cements us as being Midwesterners. That those wheels, I guess, can be for all sorts of things, but yeah. I think of them as
all kinds of grains. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so the wheel outside with the water spins and it causes the electricity and stuff. And this is kind of a cool scene. He's got like electrodes going into the water to shock the heart, but he also just like puts his hands in there and is like massaging the heart back to life.
He gives it a straight up heart massage. That's a medical procedure almost. I mean,
yeah, like people really for real do that now. So like that felt pretty cool that it was like they're getting close to like real science.
Right, but also he has the electricity going full blast while his hand is in this tank. So, you win some, you lose some.
Yeah. And so then we get the appearance of our metal priest who like breaks into the lab and like, Victor's like, get out, this is, you don't have any business being here. And the priest starts just smashing stuff. Like he's just swinging his cane.
He's like, this is an abomination against God, and just bashes everything that's electrical around him.
Including the fish tank with the heart in it. Mm-hmm. So like ruins his experiment again. And like finally, like between Victor and Hans, they like force him out. But immediately Victor's like, we gotta go, like this, he's gonna go tell somebody like this is the end of our time in this area. Yeah. So we gotta start over again.
Yep. And now it's time to go back to Karlstad, which we've never been there before. So, but we have apparently.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So Victor, which Victor, generally, like, we think of him as being like a smart person, like we may not agree with his morals, but like, he's clearly capable and like has a good head on his shoulders generally, but he's like, so there's this town that I was exiled from years ago. Yeah. I'm going to go back to my house and just, gather up all of my possessions that I left there and sell them, and that will get us money.
Yeah. Right. After I've abandoned this place for 10 plus years, surely there's something remaining, right?
Yeah, all the people who hated me and forced me out of the town, I'm sure they like perfectly preserved my home just in case I ever wanted to come back.
They're very nice people. I mean, but by the way, his line of thinking does not improve. It just bad decision after bad decision.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
So then on the way there, they're getting kind of close to town, and there's like, we kind of cut away to this scene of like a bunch of young thugs, I guess, young like punk teens or something.
Right.
And they're like picking on this girl, kind of tormenting her, and she like runs away and just like runs into the carriage as Victor and Hans enter the town.
Yeah, eventually we're going to know her as only the beggar girl. That's the only name she gets, and that's played by Katie Wilde.
I think like she has a name in, like, I saw in Wikipedia she's like credited as like Rena, but they definitely never call her that in the movie.
Well, I mean, she's mute, she's deaf, she can't really, tell them what her name is, and they don't really bother giving her one.
Yeah, I mean, like, this movie fails the Bechdel test so hard.
Yeah.
I mean, there only are two female characters. They never really talk.
No,
and one of them doesn't even have a name.
Right. They don't really... Well, actually, do either of them actually fully have an actual name that's said? Like, because one is just kind of referred to as Burgermaster's wife.
Yeah.
I mean...
And she's... Yeah, when we get to her, boy, she's something else, too.
Mm-hmm. She's there for she's there for two reasons. And this movie lets you know it.
Oh, yeah. Like... Ugh. Well, yeah, we'll get to her very soon.
Yeah, but at least they treat Rena as an actual character.
Yeah. For I mean, like, she is deaf and mute, so like she can't have a conversation. And they mostly, like, really, she is probably the best part of this movie, I think.
Yeah. She humanizes a lot of the.
Yeah. She does a lot of the heavy lifting, I would say.
Yes. Aside from Peter Cushing, because everything he's in, he's just eating that scenery.
Oh yeah, he's fantastic as an actor, but then like Victor is just an idiot in this movie in a way that he's not been before.
Right. Well, yeah. Okay, we'll talk about that later. We'll get into that.
So they get into town and they see they see the girl being tormented and kind of that there's like festivities around, and Victor's like, oh, this is perfect. Yeah. This will serve as a distraction, which he's right there. That's like his one. Right. He's like, yes, this festival. Because Hans is like, there's a lot of people around, and Victor's like, yeah, there's a lot of people around. They're not going to be paying attention to just some strangers passing through. Like, we just got to, keep a low profile. No one's going to notice us. It'll be fine. And they do. They pass through the town.
Even though I resurrected a monster just a few years ago, no one will remember my face.
And at first they don't, just passing through in a carriage. Nobody, everybody's just out celebrating. They get through, get to Victor's house or his former house. And the home is as you would expect it, listener, like it is destroyed. Like there's just like debris in the front yard. They go inside and it is just stripped bare. There's nothing, like it's just stone walls, nothing of value, just completely empty.
Can I interject here? I did a lot of in this one I did a lot of research because of that the facade of the house or the chateau as he calls it. So this is either Oakley Court at Windsor, or it's someplace that's like right next to it called Down Place. Okay, this was owned by Bray Studios, and it was used for almost every single Hammer horror movie made between I think 1954. And I think 72?
Oh, wow, okay.
And also, in 75, it was used for the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh, nice.
So there's your nice little Rocky Horror connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have to remember that, because we'll inevitably get to that one eventually as well. But yeah, I knew about that, like, Bray Studios, kind of like that's where they did everything, but I didn't realize that about the building. That's really cool.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I couldn't pinpoint which one it was, if it was Oakley Court or if it was Down Place. But, it's either one of those two.
Yeah, you're in the neighborhood. That's more than I figured out, so you're onto something there. But yeah, so, of course, Victor is, like, furious that his house has been ransacked, as he should be. But, like,
right.
He's...
Not been there for 10 years.
But the surprise at it is what is strange.
Right.
And so then he kind of gets really dramatic, and he's like, why can't they ever just leave me alone?
Yeah, there's like weird dramatic whispering at intervals. Like in the beginning, he mentioned something. What does he talk about at the very beginning? Like right before he starts cutting into the heart, him and the old man like say something very quiet. You can barely hear it. And then he does this little, why can't they leave me alone?
And so Hans is like, so what happened here? Like, I think the actor is different than Hans in the previous movie, but either way, it's definitely a different person. Like, in the second movie, Hans knew Victor's backstory. Yeah. That's how he, like, met him, was like, I know who you are, I know what happened, and I want to work with you. But this time Hans is like, tell me your story. We've never really talked about your past, which is strange.
I want to learn from you, Doctor. Well, that previous Hans, knew everything Frankenstein knew. He actually did the surgery and brought him back. It was like,
exactly.
He actually surpassed Frankenstein in that one moment. But all right.
So not only is he not aware of Victor's origins, but like we aren't aware of Victor's origins because they're brand new origins.
Yeah, I mean, this is his original body still. So
yeah.
He hasn't been replaced by his same body, just with a mustache.
Exactly. No mustache. Mustache is gone.
But he has some amazing mutton chops.
Oh, yeah. Like, just crisp. Like the edges on those are just, like, sharp.
I'm jealous. But yes, we enter our flashback.
Yeah, so, we've got... This is where it gets really universally. We've got the dark and stormy night, the creature on a slab. But again, it's like bandaged up in sort of like the bride fashion, it's all kind of covered up. Yeah. And we get like lightning and sparks and the whole thing.
And don't get me wrong, our science wheel has been replaced by phosphorescent science bulbs. There's like 3 of them all over the place, and I actually enjoy them quite a bit.
Yeah, and they just kind of like blast you with like bright lights. And so the creature's eyes open, and, Victor kind of goes around and, like, shuts off all the equipment. Like, it kind of is still going. He kind of turns a crank, and, like, the slab the creature's on kind of, like, moves and shifts, and he, like, raises up the like, there's this weird cover that's sort of like a glass tube that has, like, metal bands across it. So he kind of, like, raises those up.
Yeah, and I thought he was going to go into, like, one of the, as always, the nutrient bath or whatever they always submerge him in. But no, he's just suspended in midair with electrodes going everywhere. And
and so, like, the creature, like, he, gets up, and this is probably, like, a more accurate portrayal of what would happen than any before. Like, he, like, tries to stand up and just immediately falls. Like, he does not have any control over his body, like not even like, you know, the Karloff level.
Right, yeah. This one is fresh baby.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Just like giant body, but like no motor skills whatsoever. And so then it cuts to just like later, and there's the creature, you know, out of bandages and in sort of like, it's not like the, you know, the Karloff suit, but it has a similar kind of quality. It's like a, you know, it's not like the shaggy wild man clothes we've been seeing. It, you know, it is like actual clothing.
Right. It's a gray, like a gray long sleeve shirt, and like kind of like what you would see. And I don't want to say reminiscent of Soviet like farmers, but
it's not far off from that for sure. But he does still have like the trademark clunky Universal
shoes.
Monster shoes.
But these ones have like a metal band on the toes. They're like literal steel-toed boots.
Yeah. And he's like, so now, you know, some time has passed and he's got a little bit of like motor function. He's like shuffling around the lab, kind of like stumbling. And he sees a flame. And this is kind of like a nod back to, you know, the fire bad thing that we're used to. So he like just touches the flame.
Just grabs it full blast.
Yeah, and of course, you know, feels pain, responds to pain. So, you know, it's a smaller version of the torch from the first movie, but still kind of serves the same purpose to, like, you know, show the monster that, like, fire is, you know, is painful and dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, the creature does kind of, it has some similarities to, like, the character design of the Universal Frankenstein. The top, you know, the head is kind of flat on the top. But it also looks like they made it out of like paper mache or something.
Right,
it's real flaky and weird. Like, I guess you could defend it and say that it's like, you know, damaged, like dead skin, but it also just kind of looks like, you know, a craft project.
Yeah,
like,
it's a mask. Yeah, I mean, this is definitely kind of where they did not put all of the budget.
Yeah, which, like, to me, you know, if the set wasn't pretty but the monster looked good,
Right.
I would much rather, like, the monster, it's the monster, you know, like, that's the main thing. This is a monster movie.
Yeah,
Make the monster look good.
Cut down on a few of the science bulbs, you know, get rid of the gibbet. Just give me a really good-looking monster.
Yeah, absolutely. So then, like, Frankenstein tries to, like, feed the monster. I guess it's, like, porridge or something. He gives him this, like, bowl of, like, some sort of white pasty substance or something. Yeah. And the creature kind of tries to eat it and doesn't seem to like it, just sort of like spits it out on the floor.
Well, the problem is he tries to shove it up his nose, effectively. Like, he just slaps it on his face. Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's reminiscent of what a baby would do. So.
Yeah, where you're like scraping it up the chin, trying to like keep shoving it back in the mouth. It's not going well. And pretty much like the next scene, I think, is like Victor going back to check on the creature, and it's gone. You know, because that's what happens.
Yeah.
So, you know, then we've got like Frankenstein like out in the woods, like on a search for the missing creature. And he finds him, but not before finding a bunch of just like destroyed lamb carcasses.
Right, like he goes through a herd.
And it's like the camera, at first you just see like, you know, I think it's like 3 just dead lambs, blood splattered everywhere. And then you kind of like pan out a little bit further and there's a 4th one and the creature's just like there, just like chomping on it. So clearly not a vegetarian, didn't like the porridge, you know, wanted some lamb.
Yeah, I feel like there were probably actually, like, by the way, just warning, if you are sensitive to this kind of thing, I'm pretty sure they used a few slaughtered lambs. Like,
they very well could be. Yeah. But considering what the monster looks like, I don't think they spent a lot of money to make like realistic looking dead lambs.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's probably cheaper to buy them, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
So just be aware of that.
Yeah, I'm sure no animals were harmed in the making, but they probably purchased some animals that had been harmed.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so then, like, as soon as you see that the creature's there, like, immediately it's just, like, getting shot at.
Right. 3 villagers roll up, and they're just like, nope, we can't deal with this. Just open fire.
Yeah, they're not playing around this time.
No. It is reminiscent of Paul, though, right?
Oh, yeah. Like shoot
nope.
first, ask questions later.
Right.
So the creature runs away, but the townspeople, I think there's like a police officer with them and maybe some hunters or whatever. They immediately just like arrest Frankenstein and they're just like, you know, nope.
Right.
And so then we like cut back to the present with, Victor telling the story. And he's basically just like, yeah, so they arrested me. They kicked me out of town.
By the way, his charges, like, I'm going to be honest with you. I feel like they could have, A, gone with a lot more charges, and B, this Victor Frankenstein probably wouldn't have left the town alive because they just charged him with assault against an officer. That's fine, whatever. And works against God. But I also feel like they would be like, and you kill your thing. One, you create an abomination that killed a bunch of sheep, so that's at least a fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. But they just kick him out of town. That's it. Go home.
Yeah.
Leave, or go away. Leave.
Yeah. So he's exiled, and then he says he kind of just like worked, went from town to town, worked little jobs, like saved money, continued to try to work on his experiments as he could afford. And like there's a suspicious like lack of mention of what happened to the creature. He's just like, yep, I left town, that's it,
Nope. No acid bath, no just dying.
Yeah, nobody shot or captured the creature. It just ran off, and the end as far as we're concerned. Then we're in the present day, and they like decide to go into town, which again, like this is Victor like not making good decisions.
No. But luckily, it's like carnival at this point.
Yeah, there's like a full swing. It's like, it looks like a big fun street fair. And like, Hans is like, aren't you afraid people are going to recognize us or recognize you? And he's like, here. And he just like buys a mask from a vendor and like puts masks on both of them. And he's like, no, we're good. We're totally incognito.
Yeah. Also, there's a few stereotypes. I don't think they're meant in necessarily any mocking way. But there is like a Native American woman or someone dressed up as a Native American woman, and they throw knives at her, the knife throwing thing. And then you have, of course, the individual who's breathing fire in a turban and vest. So there are stereotypes. Just be aware. I don't think they were. Obviously, for the time, they definitely weren't meant to be anything.
Yeah, that seems like old-timey carnival stereotypes that you're used to seeing. Although it does seem like, having like a Native American, like, England didn't have like, indigenous, right. It's weird. That I didn't even notice that, but yeah, that's really weird.
I don't know.
Like, it's like a Buffalo Bills kind of carnival thing that you would expect in America.
The knife thrower is dressed up like Buffalo Bill with the doeskin jacket, and like, he's got the not bicycle mustache, but
like the handlebar.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean,
yeah, I guess it's like maybe like England has like American influence or inspired carnivals or did at that time or something.
Right. I believe that. That's probably a thing. Yeah, but they get the crappy felt domino masks.
No one's gonna see through this clever disguise. So they immediately go into a pub, and man, like Victor is just such a jerk to the I think it's the pub owner. It's not just like a regular waiter. He's like, asks for his order, and he's like, bring us drinks, and like I want some food. And the guy's like, we don't have food. This is just a streamlined pub. We just serve drinks. That's it. And he's like, to get a license to serve alcohol, you must, you have to serve food too. That's part of the rules.
Yep.
And like, dude, you can't be a jerk to people when you're asking for food. Like,
especially
even
if you're wanted, man.
Yeah, if you get some food, it is gonna have some spit in it for sure.
Yeah. If not a little bit of dysentery and other things.
Yeah, and like to make matters worse, like he's making a scene. There's a lot of people around, and if that scene wasn't bad enough, like he notices, oh, here's some people from my past. Here's the burgomaster. Here's, the police chief.
Yeah,
and then he sees that. Not only is the burgomaster there, but he's wearing one of Victor's rings.
Well, he sees that because the burgomaster wraps his arms around his wife, and we get the shot of the two aforementioned reasons why the wife was there. They definitely focus in on those two areas.
Yeah, like she's wearing, Hammer definitely has a thing for like, the like corset kind of tops like that are low cut, and you get that like top of the like cleavage kind of shot, but like the vampire movies lean into that, but I don't think any of them lean into it as hard as the camera seriously just like leers on your behalf, just like zooms in, and it's not
it's there for titillation, quite for every sense of the word,
for sure. So yeah, as soon as he sees the rings, he's like, he stole my ring, and he just starts flipping out. And the police are like, excuse me, sir, you're making a scene. And he's like, no, it's not me. You need to arrest that guy. He stole my ring because I'm Victor Frankenstein.
You need to arrest the mayor because I'm the guy who made the monster that fucking ran wild throughout the town 10 years ago. Man.
It's like he has no chill at all. Like
the cojones.
Like, I get that he would be bad, but the response is like, I need to go like kill this guy in his sleep or something. It's, or like also just, I understand that either way, like, you're not going to get the police on your side against the mayor when you were exiled from the town for, an abomination against God.
Right. You caused a menace to the society there. I don't think they're going to be like, nah, we trust you over the mayor. But luckily, Hans is there backing up Baron Frankenstein with his pocket wine or pocket sand and just throws it in the face of the constables and just runs out grabbing Victor.
Yeah, so they manage to get away, and like then they instantly sort of come across this like hypnotist doing a sort of demonstration, and they still they just kind of stand in the back. Like I would say, this is a good chance. Like, here's a crowd. If we get through this crowd, maybe that will kind of slow the police down. But no, they're just like, okay, we'll just hide. Yeah, we'll hide here in the crowd. No one will think to look around in this crowd. And then to make matters worse, the hypnotist is immediately like, I'd like 2 volunteers. Oh, hey, these two guys in the back of the masks. Why don't you come up here on stage and be the center of attention?
And they do it. Instead of being like, nah, peace out, man, we're gone. They're like, nope, we're in on this. Let's see what you're all about.
Yeah, so so they're just up on stage, and the police arrive, but this is their luckiest break ever. Right. The police arrive, and the hypnotist, whose name is Zoltan. He immediately starts arguing with the police because they're like, you don't have a permit to do a hypnotist show here. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I don't need a permit, and just starts yelling and stuff. And they're Victor and Hans are like, okay, perfect opportunity, let's get out of here. Then the next scene, it cuts to the burgomaster, and he's home getting ready for bed, and you've got his wife in the bed playing the same role she played earlier. Right.
But here's the thing. The actor for the burgomaster, he knew what was going on here because, and that's David Hutchison as the burgomaster of Karlstad. But he is sitting there leering like an idiot. He's like, oh boy, here we go. And I'm like, you know what? I understand. I respect that. You've definitely hit above your weight class. She's out of your league, but you still got there, buddy. Good job.
Yeah. He's using the mayor thing to his advantage. He knows what he likes, and, God bless him. Mm-hmm. So they're getting ready for bed, and Victor just, bursts in. Right. And he's like, not just my ring, you got my paintings. This is my desk. You
got my bed? And my clothes.
All my stuff.
Gee, who could have saw that coming?
And so the burgomaster's like, get out of here. You were exiled. This is not your stuff anymore. Your stuff was reclaimed by the city, and I'm the mayor. And Victor's like, I'm going to call the police. And the burgomaster's like, do it.
Right,
let's call the police.
We'll fix this right now.
But before he can even call, they just show up. I guess Victor is making enough noise, commotion. And they show up, and as the mayor assumed, they come and arrest Victor.
Right, or at least try to.
Yeah, they're on it, and Victor ends up having to escape out a window to get away.
Okay, I will say this is the stupidest Frankenstein, but he's also the most action hero Frankenstein. He just ties a bedsheet around this bedpost and just leaps out the window holding it.
And it is a great bit because he's it's the tied sheets together thing. Mm-hmm. You've seen that many times before, but it doesn't reach the ground, and then the bed just slides until it hits the window.
Right.
And the burgomaster's wife kind of looks out the window at him as he hits the ground and takes off.
Yeah, I think she was a little impressed, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely this is a Brawn as opposed to Brains kind of Frankenstein.
Mm-hmm. Who somehow knows how to revive monsters or create monsters, but
yeah.
Mm.
So then Victor manages to like find Hans, who was just still hanging out at the fair, and he's like, "I guess we got to leave town. I guess I maybe stirred up too much trouble. I don't know how. This is
It's a mystery to me."
Yeah, so he's like, "We got to go climb a mountain to get away, instead of just like." They have a carriage, but like, let's climb a mountain.
Mm-hmm. That's the only way to get out of town, because we can't just go back the way we came.
And luckily for them, again, they stumble across the deaf mute girl from earlier, and she's like kind of motions like, "Here, I know a way, to get shelter, because you can tell it's like getting ready to storm, like it's not raining or storming yet, but Thunder. It's a Frankenstein movie, so storms are always imminent."
Yeah, they're inbound always.
So she managed to kind of lead them to a cave. So they're like safe, and they decide to kind of rest for the night and regroup in the morning. And then it cuts to morning, and Victor wakes up and like hears the girl, and she's kind of like making sounds, like vocalizations, but not speaking, obviously. And so he kind of like follows the noises to see what she's up to. And as Universal loves to do, they find the creature in the cave, frozen in a block of ice.
Let's talk about this ice real quick. It is a sheet of plastic tarp.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it almost looks like saran wrap. It's so bad.
It does.
And Victor's like, "I guess he fell into the glacier," which like the glacier?
Right.
What
Anthony,
glacier?
There's always underground glaciers here in this part of the country, I don't know.
So they do what you do. They like start some fires and like start to kind of like try to melt the ice.
And I swear you can see the guys standing up just above the tarp, lightly pouring little streams of water down the tarp.
Oh man,
it is an effect, all right. That is what it is.
I get that's the nice thing about these movies generally is like like you were saying, like you rent out a castle and it's an actual British castle, so it looks like a castle, and then they're like, well, at least we got that right. Like, we could save money everywhere else because we got the good looking castle.
We've blown our budget on the entire interior scene of the lab. We bought these, they already own the two castles, and they were. So that's, no extra money over their head. But basically, they spent all their money on the lab, and then they were like, what are we going to do with the next $100 we have? Oh, the rest of the movie.
So eventually they do, and of course, we never really see the ice melt. You just see the water trickling, and then cut away, and then cut back to the ice is all gone, the creature's out, and they decide to take him back to the castle that they just tried to flee from.
Yep.
So they kind of wrap it up and just kind of throw it on a little sled, and they're dragging it down the mountainside. And the girl decides to come with them.
Yeah.
I guess because, she kind of showed them a kindness, they kind of showed her a kindness, and, she clearly the townspeople aren't kind to her based on, the boys earlier.
Right.
So this is a chance to kind of maybe find some people who need her and that she can be protected. So yeah, she follows along. They get to the castle and immediately go back to work. We're gonna revive the creature again. So they start kind of putting the damaged equipment back together.
Yeah, we have a repair montage.
And it's an urgent repair montage.
Yeah.
Things are already happening. Victor's run up on the roof. Hurry, flip those switches. We'll see if this works. Right. And there's sparks spraying everywhere on everything.
You're going to send your boy out in the middle of a rainstorm to mess with a fuse box? What? It causes a little electrical fire that somehow puts itself out before it goes crazy and doesn't kill him.
Yeah. And he acts there's all these sparks and everything, and he just shut the door yep, that'll do. Good. That's what I wanted to see, was a bunch of sparks.
Right.
So he goes downstairs and he's all good upstairs. Let's go for it.
Yeah. And then Raina, the redhead lady, she's excited. She's like, this is crazy. I've never seen anything like this.
Yeah, and so the creature the sparks bring it back to life, but there's no movement, no action. It's not the shaky hand or even the eyes opening. It's just they physically can tell, like, I guess by pulse and heartbeat and stuff, like, it's alive, but it's in a coma, like, immediately, you know? So they're trying to figure out what to do. Like, you know, he's totally unresponsive. But, like, right away, the girl, like, has a connection. Like, you can... And she's a great actress. Like, you know, she can't talk, and the creature's just, like, you know, in a coma. Like, there's no action in this scene. No dialogue, nothing. And she, like, you can tell, like, she feels a kinship to the creature right away.
Right. She's already taken, like, kind of a big sister role, even though...
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And, like, this is, like, this little nugget here, like, you get more of this as it goes, but it's also just, like, if they had built on that instead of some of the other stuff that goes on, like, this movie could have been, like, really emotionally resonant and, like, really one of the best, you know? Instead
it
of, like...
potential.
It misses over and over again where it had opportunities.
Right. But going back to what you were saying about one of the bad decisions, the Baron comes up with the bright idea, wait, he's physically alive, but not mentally. You know what we should do? We should go get that mentalist, or the hypnotist guy. What? Okay.
Yeah.
Sure, all right.
And he actually does a pretty good job of kind of manipulating the hypnotist into doing what he wants. Like, he kind of, rather than being like, I need your help, he's like, I have a challenge for you, and I don't think you can do this.
Exactly.
And the hypnotist is like, I can hypnotize anybody. You know, and
any
like,
man born of woman is what he says. Dun, dun.
Yeah, and Victor's like, well, then this should prove interesting.
Exactly.
So yeah, the hypnotist is immediately, like, swayed by this sort of, like, trick, and, you know, goes with Victor back to the castle. And when he sees what's going on, he's not on board right away. He's kind of like, I don't know if I want to do that.
Right.
Like, this is
messed up.
Yeah. But Victor, again, is kind of like, you know, this is your chance to, like, really do something beyond what you've ever done before. And, you know, like, clearly Zoltan is, like, a very, like...
He's shady.
Ego-driven person,
that
you
too.
know?
Yeah. But honestly, I thought they were going to be like, oh, he's a shyster, you know, that he's a con artist. Nope. Apparently he's the real deal.
Yeah, so he, like, does hypnotize the creature, and, like, he wakes up right away. But, like, he wakes up and immediately, like, just goes into these convulsions and is, like, flailing around in, like, agony. And Zoltan's like, what is wrong with him? Like, and Victor's like, oh, well, his brain was all chopped up and I just kind of stitched it together and it hasn't healed at all, so it probably hurts really bad. Right. But he's awake, so good job. Like, we're cool.
We didn't let that heal before we woke him up fully, you know?
Yeah. So, like, they go to, like, have a glass of brandy to celebrate, and Zoltan's like, so I woke the creature up, but, like, you're not going to be able to do anything with him unless, you know, I stick around and, like, continue with my, like, hypnotism. Yeah. You know, I need to make him obedient to you, otherwise he's just going to be this, like, wild creature.
Yeah. This is basically Zoltan's ace in the hole, if you...
Oh, yeah. And, you know, it works. Victor's like, okay, you know, that's fine. And, like, the weird thing is, like, Zoltan, like, his, like, bargaining chip is he's like, I want to be an equal partner. And Hans is like, I don't know about this, Victor. And it's like, equal partner in what? Like, They're just, like, doing science. They're not, this isn't a money-making venture at all. Well, as far as Victor and Hans know, it's
Zoltan's
not a money-making venture.
Yes, it is.
But, like, they're so hesitant, like, he's getting a third of this partnership of science?
Right.
But, like, pretty much immediately, so, like, Victor's like, we have to go in on, you know, like, we have to let him in on the partnership because we need him. And then, like, immediately Zoltan is, like, figuring out ways to use the creature for his own ends. So it's like everybody goes to bed and he's like, well, you could go to the church and steal a bunch of gold for me. Right. Like, and so the creature does, like, just, like, stomps into town, breaks into this church, and carries out an armload of anything shiny he can find.
Right, we got a crucifix, we got a goblet, you know, we've got, I think, a collection plate, a few candelabras. Yeah. He's ready to go.
And, you know, as he heads back to the castle, there's, like, a drunk, like, laying out in the road who's just, like, you know, kind of notices what's happening.
Right.
And, you know, that will come back to bite them. Then it's like the next day, you know, like, Victor has, like, a list of experiments that he wants Zoltan to kind of, like, some exercises to sort of like develop the brain and everything. And Zoltan, like, as clever as he generally is like, I don't know, the creature might be kind of tired. And Victor's like,
why?
He just woke up. He's and Zoltan's like, oh yeah. I mean, just yesterday it was a busy day. Like,
Right. I didn't have him steal anything. You had him steal something. God.
But instead of doing the experiments, like, Zoltan's still just like, I want you to go back into town and punish the burgomaster and the police chief.
Now, I'll be honest. It was easy to see what was about to happen because he chose his words very poorly. If you're going to punish them, I mean, there's only a couple ways you can punish them.
Yeah.
But also, don't be found. Be very discreet. Bury the bodies. No, he says everything but that.
Yeah. So the creature leaves, and then, like, Zoltan sees that the girl has overheard this conversation.
Yeah.
And this scene, like, he threatens her, and it...
Here's another content warning because, yeah.
Yeah, like, he doesn't explicitly say anything, but it's pretty heavily implied that, like, if you say something, like, you are going to be raped. Like, it is...
Yeah.
It's real dicey.
Yeah. There is definitely... The implication is strongly there.
Yeah, like, if you make me mad, I can do whatever I want to you, and you can't say anything about it. So, yeah, it's terrible. Like, Zoltan sucks.
Yeah, he sucks really bad. Like, and the worst part is he's gotten one over on Frankenstein because he has almost full control over this monster.
Oh, absolutely.
So
he's really like the true villain of this movie, I would say.
He really is, yeah, 100%. Well, we'll get into that, but Frankenstein effectively becomes kind of an action hero to a degree, but not... Yeah. So, yes, the monster goes off, finds the Burgermeister, and beats the living daylights out of him. Just pummels the man.
Oh, yeah, it's brutal.
Yeah.
And just kind of, so he does that, and then just, like, stumbles off, goes to the police station... And there's a police officer there who, like, I'm not sure if it's the chief or not, but he's police enough for the creature, mm-hmm. So he just starts in on him.
Well, he's also dressing up as the chief of police, being like, make way for the burgerman. Like, he's literally cosplaying as the chief of police at the worst possible time.
He's got this silly headdress on, like he's trying to be really fancy.
Yeah. By the way,
while that...
just sorry to interrupt, but they actually use the term police or polizei, or I don't know, I'm not German, but it's actually the German word for police.
Yeah, with like the Z.
Yeah, polizei.
So then while that's going on, we cut back to the burgomaster's house, and the police are questioning the wife, and this is the only time she gets to speak in the whole movie. Mm-hmm. Like, literally, this is the only... She's now been in, like, multiple scenes just as, like, a pair of boobs. And finally, she's just like... they're like, tell us what the man looked like. And she's like, it was no man, it was a monster. And that's it.
Yep, that's it.
Curtain call on that girl. Mm-hmm. And so then Victor sort of like figures out, he goes to talk to Zoltan. Zoltan's just like chilling with like his, stolen gold. Mm-hmm. And a noticeably injured creature who's like got blood all over his hands and everything. And Victor's like, what have you been doing?
Right.
What's going on?
He finally figured it out.
Yeah. So they like get into like a fist fight. Like they are like physically like, fighting each other, and finally, like, Victor's like, get out of here, like, you're not welcome here.
Right, this is over.
And so then, of course, he goes to Hans and is like, I guess we gotta leave again. Like,
right.
We keep overstaying our welcome over and over again.
Oh, no.
But before that can even happen, like, Zoltan, like, leaves and immediately just, like, walks around to the back.
Climbs up in the vent.
And yeah, he tells the creature like, "Hey, rip this grate off the wall and let me back in."
Right.
And so the creature first tries to pull and just breaks off one sharp, like rod with a point on the end, and then tries again and gets the whole grate out. But now he's got this nice metal, spear basically.
Yeah. And Zoltan's like, "All right, we're gonna go kill the Baron."
And that spear, like, it really, it's just used as a weapon in this, but like, again, like, we keep like name dropping movies we'll do later, but it kind of reminded me of like the cemetery gate rod from Friday the 13th Part 6.
Yeah, 100%. There is definitely a clear line between this movie and that. It's got to be.
Oh yeah, I think so. Mm-hmm. So once Zoltan gets back in, he's like, go punish Victor, basically. Like, Victor tried to kick me out, so do what you do, like, and kill off Frankenstein. And again, the girl overhears and like gets to Victor first. But, it's one of those, like, moments where, like, she is in a panic and trying to warn him and, has no voice and can't.
I don't know so much that she overhears is that she just sees that kind of happen. She's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I guess she's deaf, so she doesn't overhear. But, like, yeah, she knows something bad's going on. Yeah. And so the creature does show up and, like, starts to, like, fight Victor.
Yeah, he stabs at him, and the Baron just action rolls over the table.
Yeah.
Good job, Peter Cushing.
Yeah. So, like, you got the creature with, like, a sharp metal spear, and, Victor gets away and then, like, does the fire thing, So he starts kind of, like, trying to, like, push the creature back with fire, which works. As we know, he burned his hand earlier, so he knows what's up with fire, and he's not messing with that.
He's kind of stuck between Zoltan and the Baron at this point, right?
Yeah, and I guess his fear of fire is like outweighs the like mental control that Zoltan has over him.
It just shakes him. Just jab that whole rod into Zoltan's chest.
Yeah. So yeah, Zoltan is gone, and then the police arrive because all this crazy stuff's going on in the town, and everybody knows it's Victor.
That Baron's up to his old tricks again.
Yeah. So they arrest Frankenstein, but again, the creature has escaped as earlier. Mm-hmm. So then we get a scene with the deaf mute girl and the creature back in the cave, and she's kind of caring for him, kind of helping with his injuries. Then Hans finds them, so he knew to go back to the same cave, and he's like, we got to leave town. Like, this is things are way out of hand at this point.
Right, and they make like their own little party, They just start traveling away, and it's kind of sweet to a degree because Raina trips, falls, and the monster just picks her up, kind of going back to the earlier scenes with Maria and a few of the unfortunate incidents, but this one's much more sweeter, and he's a lot more gentle with her.
Yeah, and it's that, like, over the threshold carry. Like, it's that, so many monster movies that have that, like, that poster with, like, the creature holding the babe, like, you got, like, the creature from the Black Lagoon with the girl in the bikini, and there's, like, like, Forbidden Planet or something with, like, the robot. Like, there's a lot of those exact same posters, and this is that moment. But it doesn't have the, like, monster kidnapping woman. It feels like two people who care about each other and are taking care of each other however they can.
This is kind of the one of the earliest forms of the monster as friend.
Oh yeah, for sure. They, like, are sort of going through the woods, or not it's like the mountainside, really. It's not really like wooded so much. And then between Victor being caught and, like, the drunk witness, who we've gotten a couple, like, really short little moments with him, like, telling that he saw the creature, like, steal from the church.
Right, and, like, the chief's fed up at this point. He's like, I know what's going on. I'm not an idiot.
Yeah, so they're like, okay, we got to go find the creature. Yeah. So the police are heading out, and while they're gone, they've left Victor in the jail with, like, the least competent cop, because, of course, they need their top dogs out looking for the creature.
Right.
And Victor does this, like, goofy thing where he, like, drops a coin on the ground and then pretends to be asleep. And as soon as the guy tries to grab the coin, he just, like, grabs him.
Would you smell my chloroform rag here? And just...
Yeah. So he escapes and, like, he steals a cart, and this is, like, the super action scene.
Exactly.
So he's, like, in a cart, like, standing up, like, two like reins, like, controlling the horses, and, like, it's like an Indiana Jones kind of moment, and he just, like, bursts through the town, like, goes past a bunch of people, sees the police headed towards
the police. He's like, screw you guys.
They kind of have to scramble to either side. He just like keeps on going. And it looks cool. Like Peter Cushing is like a badass in this scene. It's great. And like he arrives back at the castle where like Hans and the creature and the girl are all there together.
And the monster decides it's time to drink.
Yeah, so like she gives him a little bit to like ease the pain. And he's kind of like, yeah, I kind of like that. And he just like keeps like downing like whole bottles.
Like he grabs a barrel and chucks it in his drunken rage. At this point, he is raging.
Yeah. So like he's in like drunk berserker mode, just like smashing everything.
He's drinking every bottle he can get a hold of as Frankenstein busts in through the door.
Yeah. So now we've got like Victor there, a drunk creature who has now started a fire. So now he's like,
he downs like acid or poison or something. And Victor's like, no, don't drink that.
Yeah. So now the creature's in a panic because there's fire. Victor's there. They kind of like fight each other. And the fire keeps spreading and like, it's definitely, this feels very universal. It feels like that scene they used twice, that we talked about earlier.
Yes. Where they dropped the foam wall on Bela Lugosi.
Yeah. So you got like debris falling from the ceiling, fire everywhere. And then at the same time we get like the mob shows up. They've got their pitchforks and torches, like again super universal. But
let's not leave out that the Baron decides he wants to save the monster, so he jumps on this chain and does the Errol Flynn like swing down to the floor where the monster is trying to save him.
Yeah I mean like action packed. And then Hans and Raina get outside again. It's very universal.
Hold on, can I do it? Can I do it real quick?
Yeah
Castle explodes, abrupt ending. We're back, baby.
It's like we never left.
Exactly.
Yeah, so like as soon as they get out, they look on, and it's like the innocents who get to escape the castle and watch the castle get decimated, like we've seen so many times. And it's like there's like a tower to the side of the castle. It just crumbles, falls off the edge of a cliff. The end.
Right. Though, I mean, I'll be honest, this movie was a mess, and like the first third of the movie was pretty good. It had a lot of that Hammer feel. The flashback sequence was really weird, and the movie literally could have done without it. And the actual third part of the movie was pretty good. It was pretty good. A little weird, but pretty good. I mean, we had a drunken monster raging.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I would not call it a good Hammer movie, but it is a very fun Hammer movie.
No, I looked it up. This is the lowest rated Hammer movie. And so far, I can agree with that. Yeah, 100%.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you definitely got a sense that, like, Hammer, maybe they had a plot in mind, and Universal was like,
oh, no.
Hey, it feels like you're working too hard here. Like, let's get rid of the ending. I know you had, like, this poignant, heartfelt, like, denouement. Nope. We don't need that.
No.
Cut that.
Just end it. Cut it off. Yeah, right now.
Yeah, so it's
people aren't here for the monster. They're here for the lab.
Oh, yeah. Right. So it's fun. It's definitely worth seeing. It's enjoyable. Yeah. Unfortunately, the female characters don't get to do much. And it's like, Raina really had something special. Her relationship with the creature. You only get a few sort of like it's like 3, maybe 4 moments spread throughout the movie. And if like they'd really honed in on that and spent some time with that, I think this could have been like one of my favorite Frankenstein movies. Like,
oh yeah, 100%.
Their relationship seems it's really, like you were saying, it's like one of the first instances of the creature as a friend. It like, again, like it reminds me of like the relationship with like the little girl in Monster Squad in a way. Like it's like we're gonna talk that movie to death before we even get to it.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
we're gonna get to it soon. I promise.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just like it's like a really beautiful connection they have, and because they're both sort of like non-fully functional, as far as like society's concerned. It kind of harkens back to like the Fritz thing as well, but like it's a lot more pure. So there's nothing to like cringe at about it. Like it's not did I say Fritz? I meant Igor.
Yeah, Igor. Yeah.
It's not Igor. it's not
there's
Igor
no
like
romantic.
using him.
Right.
Exactly. And it's not Igor like using him for his own purposes. It's just like they're helping each other. She helps bandage his hands. He carries her when she falls. It's very sweet.
Yeah, this is the healthiest relationship he's ever been in.
Oh, for sure. And yeah, I want more of that for him. But nope. Instead, we just get the lab exploding and the creature presumably falling to its death, and Victor presumably like dying. Which is more of a thing considering how we know how these movies have progressed so far.
Yeah, I mean, well, it seems like, they always, in the Hammer movies, they fake out, oh, Baron Frankenstein is dead finally, but we know he's not. He's coming back.
Yeah. So
by the way, speaking of the LGBTQ+, we're going to have something very similar, or at least in that alley next week, right?
Yeah. So, next week we have Frankenstein created woman.
Yep. We talked about at one time, we had hoped that, maybe there would be a trans Frankenstein. Turns out there already was, and we didn't even really know. I mean, not exactly, but close.
Yeah, we'll get into it. It's the best they can do for that time period, for sure. Or the best we could hope for, I guess I should say. They could have done better, but, we know. Yep, so we'll get into that next week. Which I love that title. It's so good, and it's a nice change from the the curse, the evil, all that.
Right. Revenge of Frankenstein.
So join us next week for Frankenstein created woman.
And as always, to be continued.
Looks like you survived another episode. The Frankencast is a production of FCR Media. It's hosted by Anthony Bowman and Eric Velazquez. Follow us on Twitter at The Frankencast, or send us a letter at thefrankencast@gmail.com. Our cover art is by Amanda Keller. You can find her at Keller Illustrations on Instagram. Our theme music is by Vivek Abhishek. Thanks for listening.